Alright, what's going on, guys? Hope you all are doing well. So, in this video, we're going to be talking a lot about Vanguard zombies, because DLC 4 for Cold War is, about to come out, and as soon as that's released, I think we'll have a pretty good indicator on what Vanguard is really going to be all about and setting up for. But if you're not really wanting to wait until DLC 4, we already know quite a bit about the game itself. This includes things as far as, how the mechanics of the game might work, some maps that we'll see, and potentially even reintegrations of older, potentially World at War or Black Ops 1 maps into that game, assuming the time period is the same. I'm going to assume most of you are aware by now, but if you're not, Treyarch is developing zombies this year for Vanguard. They're literally just Treyarch Studios is in charge of it. It's going to be on the same engine, of course, but it's also going to be continuing the Dark Ether story established by Cold War Zombies. And when I mean continuing, it's obviously going to be a prequel to that mode because it takes place chronologically before Cold War Zombies. And that might sound kind of whack at first, but I'm going to explain why I think that's actually a lot more interesting than you might originally give it credit for. So we've got a lot to unpack today and discuss. If you guys do enjoy the video, all I ask in return is a thumbs up. It does go a long way helping out the video. Of course, if you're new to the channel as well, make sure to subscribe for more Cold War Zombies content and Vanguard. I got you covered. And also, real quick, I do have some limited time merch out right now. The Chaos and Order hoodie. It's starting to get colder for a lot of people, and hoodie season is coming in fast. And if you want to be looking your drippiest for this upcoming fall, then make sure to check the link in the description and go give the merch a look if you want to. And if you do end up picking some up, please let me know so that I can thank you. So let's first talk about a few facts we've known about Cold War and as they relate to Vanguard. Duty was literally a map that was developed for Cold War Zombies but never implemented. Whether it was just used for testing, we're not entirely sure, but it wouldn't make sense to drop some of these older classic World at War or even Black Ops 1 maps into that game based on its current direction of the story and even the time period. Also, in Cold War, people were expecting or were wanting to see what would be the form of a Zombies Chronicles 2, which would include the 3 maps in the Victory series that have not been remastered. But when you really think about it, I don't think a Zombies Chronicles 2 that consists of those 3 maps alone really would have cut it, and I think Treyarch and Activision knows this. As far as I'm concerned, it would make far more sense in Vanguard to, if they are going to do some sort of Chronicles 2 or a reintegration of these maps at all, to do them with the World at War / Black Ops 1 maps in Vanguard. In particular, I think it's possible that maps like specifically Der Riese and Kino der Toten from Black Ops 1 have a fairly strong chance to be integrated either in as their own maps, just like a faithful one-to-one remaster of sorts, or a little bit more like Die Maschine, where the part of the map of Nocturne Toten is still tastefully integrated, but it's not exactly Nocturne Toten as we remember it. We already know that Vanguard, in terms of their multiplayer, have already remastered a couple of the World at War maps on MP, so there's absolutely no reason at all why they wouldn't or couldn't do that for Zombies as well. Of course, Vanguard Zombies is going to be still exploring its own unique locations and stuff, and I don't expect every single map in that game to be a remake. Far from it, in fact. Now, those of you who've been watching the channel for a while, before Cold War's maps came out and they were leaked, basically, the leaks were saying that things like Firebase Z were going to include parts of Shinonuma, right? Just as Die Maschine included Nocturne Toten, Mauer der Toten was going to include something like Kino and or Der Riese. Of course, those never happened. Obviously, Die Maschine had Nocturne Toten, Firebase Z did not have Shinonuma, and then Mauer der Toten did not have Kino or Verrückt or Der Riese in it either. Now, I think there's the reason for this, and also DLC 4 that was leaked for Cold War Zombies did not mention any kind of remake, and I think that's intentional. What I think happened is Treyarch by Activision was put onto Vanguard around that time, and they know they had to make these World War II themed maps, and they would rather reuse the assets for a more World War II themed game like Der Riese and Shinonuma and stuff like that in that particular game. So maybe they pulled them out of Cold War, and that's why they were originally in the leaks but didn't actually make it in the main game. Granted, that is a theory. It's completely speculative, but I think there's some valid weight behind it, and it makes sense when you think about the context of both games. What that means is now there's a very high probability that we see some integration of maybe one, if not all, of these World at War maps / even Black Ops 1. I would expect maybe Kino der Toten might also make some kind of debut. Now, when I originally heard that Vanguard was going to be a prequel to the Dark Ether storyline, still in the same universe obviously, but taking place beforehand chronologically, originally I was like, oh god, how are they going to make anything in this storyline interesting, or even the maps themselves and the events of them interesting? Now, I think they cleverly set up a couple of things zombies in Cold War a long time ago that have still not yet been mentioned or returned to at all that I believe will be touched upon in Vanguard. Case in point, Firebase Z. At the end of the Easter egg, obviously, Samantha Maxis emerges from the Dark Ether with both Nikolai's goggles and also Takio's katana, and we know that she's been in the Dark Ether for so long, it's fundamentally changed her. She comes out with all these unbelievable powers and things like that, but it's really never been referenced at all in Cold War, even like in the deepest depths of the intel, really. We don't exactly know what she was up to or how long she was there. Time does move differently in the Dark Ether, so I think it's possible that these stories will likely be explained in Vanguard. And on top of that, in DLC 4, we're rescuing Zykov Casimir. That's like literally who we're going after to rescue him from the Dark Ether. But in terms of Vanguard, I believe we're going to figure out why Zykov ended up getting trapped in the Dark Ether, because he basically entered in around the time that the entire like situation of World War II was happening with Project Endstation, and perhaps even before that. Why Zykov got trapped in the Dark Ether and why he was able to survive there for so long, and if he has the same powers or the effect that Samantha Maxis did, is entirely up for debate right now. But I think we're going to also explore that story, potentially even in the first map, as it may be a prequel to Project Endstation. This will probably be made more clear after DLC 4, but I think there's a possibility also Zykov is dead in Cold War, but he wasn't obviously during the time that Vanguard will be taking place, and this is actually found in the Echelon intel, weirdly enough. This explains how the Forsaken can basically mimic people and call upon them to like rescue them from the Dark Ether and to essentially weaken the membrane, letting them in. I think it's possible that at some point Zykov was indeed in the Dark Ether, but he may have died, and the person that was basically communicating with us, who we thought was Zykov the whole time, is actually the Forsaken. And we might explore in Vanguard how that story actually played out. Also, in addition to the round-based maps that I'm sure we're going to be playing in Vanguard, I also almost completely suspect we will be playing some kind of mode that's similar to Outbreak in terms of the large-scale zombies experience that was established in Cold War. We also know Kevin Drew, who is like literally the lead developer of that, is also working on Vanguard as well. So I can only imagine that's going to continue to some degree, and I'm sure a part of the story will be told via that mode, but a lot of it, of course, is going to be in round-based maps, but we kind of have a general direction of where this story might land. Now, let's get away from story a little bit, and let's talk about gameplay. One thing we do know, because the lead designers of Treyarch are like just right away working on Vanguard, you can only assume that the gameplay is going to be, as far as the fundamental mechanics go, going to be pretty similar to Cold War. I think the game is honestly going to play very much the same in terms of its just base mechanics, but things like the map intricate detail and side Easter eggs and things like that are very much up for debate. Field upgrade system that we had in Cold War is likely to make a return, maybe alongside some other brand new ones. What I really hope they do is pretty much take the base game of Cold War as the like startup of Vanguard Zombies and then build off of that as the season goes along, because Cold War Zombies has a really fair amount of content now, and that's maybe come as an effect of how long the game has been out. But if this stuff was available from the beginning plus additional content later on, that would have been really something to see. So hopefully Vanguard can take the things that Cold War has already implemented and just build from there. At this point in time, I also do expect the armor system in Vanguard to be pretty similar to Cold War, as they seem to have fine-tuned it really well. Sledgehammer's original take on World War II with the 2017 game that introduced the armor system into zombies, but it really didn't play that well. Honestly, it was kind of like primitive, and it just did not play good at all. So Cold War's got it where the armor system is pretty fine-tuned, fair, and balanced, and makes sense, and so I think Vanguard is likely going to continue in those footsteps. And I would also say probably the same thing will apply to perks, but there's a big problem that I want to discuss, and that is how they're going to handle the like Ethereum upgrade tree. Now, if you remember, at the beginning of Cold War, we thought that the system would be expanded even further. Originally, there were only 3 tiers to upgrading perks and everything when the game came out, and then they expanded that to 4 and 5. And we actually expected that to finally end up at 6 and 7, but I don't think Cold War ever really made it that far. I think Vanguard may pick up the reins and take the upgrade system just as far as Cold War did, if not even further along. The progression of that system felt really good, and it seems like if they can make that system even more engaging and maybe not so like monotonous and grindy, but still rewarding, then they have a recipe for a really, really good system. Now, I expect the first map in Vanguard, which will likely be some kind of prequel to Project Endstation, I think that these boss fights are getting to a point where they're a lot more enjoyable now. Originally in D Machine and even Firebase Z, those were some of the weakest boss fights in Cold War and maybe even Treyarch history, but things with Legion and also Mauer or Toten, they have they've really stepped their game up. So if we can have the same kind of boss fight intricacy in that game, I would be very happy about that. Now, generally in the first map though on disc of any new zombies game, for the most part, with some exceptions, however, the first map and like the boss fight or Easter egg is generally a little bit easier, or like the skill ceiling is a little bit lower, because this is supposed to be the map that introduces new players to the concepts and the mechanics of the game. And that's exactly what D Machine was in Cold War, but with a lot of people now pretty familiar with how that game works and plays out, they have the chance to make the game a little bit more difficult now. My prediction for Vanguard is that this Project End Station, possibly prequel, will likely be the easiest map in the game, and then they're going to get a little bit more difficult as the season goes on, as like Cold War did it. We won't really know for sure until we get our hands on the game, but it will be coming out actually quite soon, and I think a lot of the stuff will be made significantly more clear after DLC 4 does release. But I think that in terms of the base knowledge we have now, we've got a pretty good grip on what we can expect in Vanguard, and I'm honestly very excited. I'm very curious about what you guys think about the game and everything we know about it currently. Are you excited for zombies this upcoming year? And if so, let me know why, and if you're not, let me know why not. But regardless of all that, I hope you guys did enjoy the video nonetheless. If you did, be sure to leave a like rating on the video, subscribe if you're brand new, and also make sure to go check out the merch if you have not done already. Also, I do live stream zombies over on Twitch. If you don't already follow me and just want to come hang out or say hello, you can feel free to do that. The link to that will be in the description. Everything can be found down there. But I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take it easy. I gotta go, and peace out.